Baby lock sergers really are the easiest sergers to use, and when we run into little problems, 99% of the time it's because we missed something in either the threading or the setup steps. So in this video, I'm going to take you through some troubleshooting techniques to make sure that you have perfect stitches every time. So have you ever run into this problem? Begin sewing and it barely wants to feed the fabric on. After pushing the fabric through, I got this looking stitch, which is obviously not what we're going for. Has this ever happened to you? It looks terrible. Awful looking tension, our fabric is puckering under, and we expect a little more from a baby lock serger, right? Well, easy. Just need to put the presser foot down. This is one of the most common mistakes that I see people making. It's very, very easy to forget to put the presser foot down, especially if you're working with an Evolution or an Evolve, Enlighten, Imagine, because all of those machines have the presser foot lifter in the back. And when the presser foot is up on our sergers, it's not really obviously high like it is on your sewing machine. So it's real easy to make that mistake. A little bit easier to not make it when you're on the Ovation because the presser foot lifter is in the front. So you've got a little bit of a visual reminder. One of the very best ways to prevent this from happening to you is by simply not lifting the presser foot. The way that our presser foot is designed, it's curved at the toe, so you can slide your fabric under, it reaches the first set of feed dogs, and it will pull your fabric through for you. If you've seen me lifting and lowering the presser foot as I begin sewing, it's because when I'm on camera, I'm sewing at an angle, so it's a lot easier for me to lift the foot a bit, put my fabric in to keep it straight, and then continue sewing off at an angle. But when I'm working at it straight on, I never worry about lifting that presser foot. I just simply put my fabric under and stitch away. Now that's a perfect baby lock stitch. Front and back, beautiful tension, and flat fabric. And one of the great things about these sergers is that you don't have to rethread the machine when you make a little simple mistake like that. All you have to do is put the presser foot back down and give it another try. Here's another common issue that I see. I have a lot of skipped stitches here, and I can tell you the baby lock sergers really don't skip stitches unless something is not set up correctly. What's going on here when you see these skip stitches is typically something to do with your needle. Sometimes it could be that your needle is bad and you need to change it, but in this case, I've lowered the needles in the machine. When you're inserting needles into your machine, you want to make sure that you're looking inside of the needle inspection holes to see the tops of the needles so that you know that they're up all the way in. If they're down a little bit too low, you can see daylight through those inspection holes, and you're pretty much guaranteeing yourself a skipped stitch. So we'll just go ahead and reposition those needles. I can see in the inspection holes that they're all the way up. And now I'll try it again. Perfect. So again, if you're getting skipped stitches, always check your needles. So here's a pitfall that you oftentimes see with knit or other light woven fabrics. I've got those little loops hanging off the edge of my fabric. And if you've got a baby lock serger, you know that you should never have loops hanging off the edge of the fabric that way because of the fact that when our knife blade moves, so does the farthest right stitch finger. So even on the widest stitch, you've always got support under the fabric to the edge of the fabric. So you should never see loops like this. And if you do, it's a good indication that there's something else that's not correct on the machine. And it's especially evident in a piece of knit like this. In this case, it's the differential feed. It doesn't happen often on the Ovation or the Evolution with our extraordinaire threading, but if you're working with an Evolve, Enlighten, Eclipse, or another machine that has jet air threading, you have to push down on a lever to thread those loopers, and oftentimes people accidentally bump that differential feed lever. Or it could be that you were working on a project where you had your differential feed adjusted, and you simply forgot to bring it back up to N for normal. So let's see how it stitches now. Problem solved. So how about this? Lots of loops all over the place. And the case here is that I have switched to a 3-thread stitch, and I left my left needle in, and I also didn't adjust the stitch selector from letter A to letter B. Lots of people will ask me, do I really have to take a needle out that I'm not using? And the answer is yes, you absolutely do. Your looper threads come under and over your fabric and make contact with your needle as you're stitching. So if you've got an extra needle in there that doesn't belong, it's still going to make contact with the thread and cause it to act in a wily way. Let's correct these two errors one at a time. First, I'm going to remove that left needle. We're getting a little better, but still not quite perfect. Now we need to move that stitch selector lever to the B position so that that automatic thread delivery system can do its job. Now that's a good looking stitch. So the lesson here is to always remove needles that you're not using and make sure that that stitch selector lever is in the right position. That'll take away lots of problems so you have beautiful stitches. So I've switched to our Imagine Serger here so that I can show you a couple of little scenarios that can't happen on an extraordinaire threading machine, only on a jet air threading machine. So here's one of them. You open up the door, switch to lower looper threading, put your thread in, blow it through, and sew. All right, now I know that I put those looper threads through, but I didn't have any looper action and all of my needle thread just came right out. So let's see what happened. My lower looper thread down here is not actually all the way in the path to the lower looper. And that's because when I threaded, I put the thread in the port and I pushed the button down, but I forgot one crucial step. I didn't push on the button and turn the hand wheel toward me. Now the air tubes are all engaged, and when I push on the lever, the thread actually comes out the lower looper so that I can sew. While we're here, there's one other thing that I want to show you. If we're threading the upper looper right now, put the thread into the air threading port for the upper looper and push down on the lever, but the thread doesn't move. It does not come out of my upper looper. And that's because I didn't move this dial over, this little lever. We are on lower looper threading position. We've got to move this to the left for upper looper and then push the button. And that thread comes right out of the upper looper. So the loopers are threaded and we think we're ready to sew. That's not how it's supposed to sound. We forgot to open the air tubes back up. You have to then push the lever over that releases your air tubes and then close the door. Much better. I hope you've taken a few helpful hints from today's video, and whenever you run into a problem with your serger, make sure you check a few basic things. Threaded properly, needles all the way up, and make sure that presser foot is down. Come back and see me again for more serger instruction at sewathomeclasses.com.